The insecurity of jobs, security for the future. Will the Liberal Party be a better manager of the economy? It looks like from all the data and all the stats in the 2014 budget on, we've been in a crisis, and we're really in a dictatorship of profit here. Everything's about greater profit, and of course the profit that comes from your wage. So listeners, our issue today. I have on my right here Gerrit Schorel Hlavka, and he's a constitutionalist.
The readings that I've done from the framers of the Constitution, and I've read all the debates and their intention, to me, that is not what they desire. But they also recognise that the unions were an important facet of life.
I have with me right now Chris White on my left here, and he's the ex-secretary of the Trades Hall Council in South Australia.
He wants to go right back to the time when workers collectively taking any action could be regarded at any time as criminal.
We're seeing a Star Chamber trial here on the union movement. We're seeing data, we're seeing mud thrown as if it's law. We're seeing people declared guilty, and it's a reverse of the common law practice of the law of this land, and that is that you are innocent till proven guilty.
What is Dyson Hayden's purpose? And is that to advance the rights of workers, or is it to destroy the unity that may exist between certain workers, and so that they will become more and more slaves? I have my concern.
Our children and future generations working like slaves, working under sweatshop conditions that we're seeing in other parts of the world, that we condemned in the past, now being pushed upon us here in the Australian public. That's what's at stake here.
ABCC, which is the Australian Building Commission, very innocent sounding term, but in fact it is a semi-police body set up by Tony Abbott to investigate any militant actions that unions may take.
That the workers have a right to strike when it relates to their rights, because if they put on danger by an employer, because often employers do that and people lose their hands, but nevertheless we got employers who are totally ignorant, and they think, well, the fine we end up with is far less than the cost if we employ them properly.
In so-called Royal Commission inquiry, there were hundreds of deaths on construction sites, and Justice Hayden was not interested in investigating any of them or bringing to justice the employers who maintain and know about their unfair safe sites.
Any constitutional validity in the government interfering to say, well, you cannot have that union official because the government may not like it. I mean, Chris is retired, but suppose Chris is there and speaks up. The government can say, oh, we're going to vote him out of a job because we don't like him. This guy knows too much.
What's happened is that they've got this STAZI group to pick out 100 building workers and say, we're going to prosecute you and fine you just because you stood up and exercise your democratic rights. So we have no democratic freedoms to do this once we have this Turnball government who takes away our basic rights.
I have concerns with Dyson Hayden in many ways, but particularly where he's trying to, so to say, smash the unions. That is a political issue.
You, as a union leader, can no longer exist as a union leader. Now, this is scandalous because, obviously, any organisation, the membership elects the union leadership, not just some politician with a stroke of a pen. And if we go back to that stage, then we would just be like Stalin or East Germany, where we have the STAZI secret police.
This was a gross misuse and abuse of power.
But really, this is putting the Australian public on the sacrificial altar.
Ordinary workers maintaining some confidence of solidarity. Basically, the Turnball government wants to divide worker against worker.
We also perhaps need, right at this point in time, we need an NCC, which is the National Corruption Control Commission, in order to be able to reel in some of what we've seen in the press today, which is politicians taking advantage of their position that they're in, conflict of interest, pecuniary interest, and other vested interests, and get back to serving the public and serving the people and not breaching section 44(1) of the Constitution. It's not about a GST, it's about where do we get our revenues from. Let's start to cancel some of these contracts out. Public transport, gas, electricity, water, cancel out these contracts and start to put them back into our treasury, and we'll start to see the wealth accumulate. That is the way we need to go, and we need to boot the corporations out. We need to boot them out of their impact here to smash the unions. We need to boot them out of controlling all of our utilities and all of government itself. That's got to be controlled by the government and the politicians that we elect.
To go for an election upon unions would be the wrong thing to do. We have to look at the politicians.
And I think that's an absolute disgrace, and people should vote the Turnbull government out.
And I hope that anyone who goes voting, we don't vote for any major political party, we vote for independents, and then we have more power to pursue our rights.
And we also need to have the Office of the Guardian, whereby that is set up and that's established. This is something that's been drawn up by Gerrit Schorel Hlavka here on my right, and that is that there would be a walk-in office where we can walk in off the street, take any issue that concerns us, that is to do with the Constitution, and that can be taken up. Now that will empower the public and the people, and we certainly need the unions preserved. Like we need to have the executive of our government in place and functioning. We also need to have our judicial functioning, and we need to have our independent media of the ABC functioning as well. So we need these components that's all written into our Constitution to work for us, and we need the people, as you said, a people united will never be defeated, and this unites us, and it gives us strength and it gives us empowerment. The battle is here. We're in a federal election battle, and I would say that the battle is with the people. That 99% is greater than 1%, and I say that people will rip the sheep's clothing off the Liberal government and see the wolf that's in it, and that we don't want dictatorship. We need our democratic freedoms endorsed, upheld, and maintained. This is Razor Sharp with Sharon Firebrace, and thank you for joining me.
It's GBB, yeah, you know me, repping the NT streets, down the VIC, rapping it rapidly, attacking all the hip-hop beats. See what happens when you see indigenous MCs rock across the nation, hoping they get overseas, cause it's more than just a dream, plus we do this for our people, defeat for all the evil that we see every day, hoping that the sun shines so we can see better days. Who's that there? Aboriginal, cool like yeah, on the microphone, fly like a spear, with them flows, sound smooth, sound slick, out the stereo, I'm a gun, baby. I hold it down like a boss to represent, baby. To a number one, you money, you ladies, you fans, you love and you use, hate me. It's that boy, baby.